Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I'm Petter and this is James.
Hello.
And today we're talking about volume 14 of Jujutsu Kaisen. The Shibuya arc is continuing further and further and further and further. I don't think there's a stopping to this one.
It will never end.
yeah. Yeah, honestly, at this point, I could see the entire next volume being chapters like this as well. But it's a blast, and I'm certainly not complaining.
No, I mean it's a thrill ride. It really is. I mean, I love this volume. It was so exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, depressing, but exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I guess we should just dive right into it with these character discussions, starting with Yuji Itadori. And this poor guy.
Oh man, I wrote the same thing. Poor guy.
I mean, seriously, because, like, I guess, quote unquote, waking up as he did, just to that whole revelation. Or, well, I guess, first of all, the sight of just Shibuya completely disintegrated.
Yeah.
And then, as it seemed like he was getting these flashes of, what Sukuna had done while he was in control.
Right.
And, like, all that came to him as well. And all the guilt that he seems to be feeling from it is also so sad. Cause
Like calling himself a murderer,
Yeah.
And then thinking back on how, I know, why do they want to kill me, or I should live, and thinking about how he wanted to die. And all of these thoughts and really hopeful aspirations come back and kind of bite at him in a way. It's really sad to see him so depressed in that way. But I mean, understandably for what he's experienced, but man, you got to feel for him.
Totally. And another really sad part, though it was slightly hype in its own way as well, though probably more so like a kind of a melancholy little bit when he was fighting Mahito after Nanami had, died.
He sees Nanami die right before him.
Right, there's that too. That is also incredibly sad and unfortunate that he had to see it. But I kind of loved and was very saddened as well at the same time by seeing Yuji determined to prove to Nanami after his death that he is a Jujutsu sorcerer. Since that was one of, if not their very first conversation was about that, or was something that Nanami brought up. It's like he doesn't recognize Yuji as a Jujutsu sorcerer and all that.
Right.
Kind of calling back to that in that moment was just also, to me, it was a pretty powerful part.
Yeah, it was powerful. Absolutely. And now his hate for Mahito is all-time high. No, I mean, gosh. He's taken so much from Yuji. Oh, man. I want Yuji to kill him.
Yeah, at this point.
Exercise him.
At this point, really, really, really. And that fight, at least, so far, I don't know if it's going to continue further or for how long it's going to continue, but the fight so far with Mahito there was a blast to watch.
Absolutely. It was a great fight.
Like that when he just collapsed his knees or whatever, and did the kick. Like that was so cool. That was so cool.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, it's probably the same throughout all of Jujutsu Kaisen for the most part, but a lot of the fights are just so great to see.
And there's a lot of it in this arc.
Yeah, this arc has a lot of it.
But is there anything else on Yuji?
Yeah, so he kind of has a mental connection with Nobara at one point, and he feels a sense of calm or, I guess, relief. He says, "Thank you for showing me I'm not alone." And I thought that was really nice. Well, I mean, not that Nobara was probably aware of it, but Yuji felt it, and it meant a lot to him. At least I feel like.
Oh yeah, no, I agree completely. And especially in that moment, he really needed to feel the support of someone,
Yeah.
Because he was in such a bad place. So yeah, I think that was really important.
That's all I have on him.
Well, then let's talk a bit about Nobara Kugisaki. next.
Okay.
She was also fighting Mahito, and her fight with Mahito was also really awesome to see.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to see kind of both of those fights going down at the same time, and kind of going between the two. To begin with, was really sweet. And I think my favorite part probably about about Nobara's side of it was seeing how she was how she was bluffing to get the upper hand against Mahito, or against the Mahito clone, I suppose, technically. But yeah, I thought that was really brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, she played a great mental game there.
Mm.
I feel like a lot of her fights have her using her intellect.
That's true.
Kind of outwitting her opponents.
Yeah, you're right, actually. Yeah, it has happened at least like twice or so before.
At least twice.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
But, well, maybe 3 times. But anyway, regardless, like, it was really cool to see, and it was so satisfying when that resonance hit Mahito. It was like,
like that ability is like
eat it, you
perfect in that moment. Like,
yes,
it's so good, and like, yeah, no, that was hype, so hype.
Yeah, I love how calm she was in that, but also just ruthless. It was great.
Yes, yeah, and she has now also become a natural enemy to Mahito, just like Yuji.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Yes, more natural enemies. Yes.
Nobara Kugisaki has more than proved herself by now that she is not a Sakura from Naruto.
No, absolutely not.
Like, I am so happy about that, because I feel like in these types of shonen there is sometimes a risk of that with, like,
fair,
in a trio of like 2 guys and a girl. I feel like Naruto is like the poster child for it, but there are other examples outside of Naruto, or Sakura, whatever. But yeah, no, this is not the case here at all, and I'm just so glad about that.
Yeah, absolutely. She holds her own.
For sure.
I am very, 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 very worried for her.
Yeah.
I mean, look, normally I wouldn't think a main character would die, like her. But it's, I don't know. I'm just scared for the Shibuya arc in general, because we've lost some people, and we'll talk about it. But we've lost some people that I care about, and I don't want to lose anybody else.
Yeah.
But also Mahito touched her face. Ironically, the only other person who's been able to survive that was Nanami, and well, we've seen what's happened to him. So it's like, how can Nobara come out of this? I'm hoping that she does, but I'm just.
I mean, for sure, right? I'm with there, or I am there, hoping with you, for that. But yeah, like, usually I believe only one touch is required. Like, one touch is usually enough for Mahito to be able to change somebody's soul, or manipulate somebody's soul. But who knows? Maybe Nobara has something in common with Nanami, and maybe another touch is required. Which obviously would mean that she's fine, but maybe it's too much to expect something like that.
But why?
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. But also, why?
Yeah.
Why would you do this?
I am so worried.
And the funny thing is, we leave on a cliffhanger of her backstory. Like, we're gonna go to the backstories. Is this just a giant red flag? Okay, she's about to die. Here's her backstory. It's like, no, stop it.
I mean, yeah, like, it definitely seems like a death flag, just the way it's done right now.
Or it could be. I mean, thinking positively, it could be a thing where she remembers her backstory, and then it fused her up somehow, and typical shonen fashion,
right.
just overcomes the adversity.
Right.
That'd be pretty cool,
Yeah. I mean, for sure. If as long as it means that she lives, it's cool. Oh, goodness.
I'll have more to say on this in the Mahito section.
Sounds good.
If that's okay.
For sure. but yeah, I guess just my closing little words on Nobara is that I think we can expect, regardless of whether she survives this or not, next volume will start with Nobara focus, because
Yeah, it's got
the
it.
last 2 pages of this volume really seemed like an opener to a backstory kind of flashback thing for her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am looking forward to that first of all,
Oh, absolutely.
and but yeah, worried about what's to come in the present day after that.
I mean, this is something we've been asking for since, her
Really
introduction.
early, yeah.
So, one thing I don't know if this is true or not, but it looks like she dyed her hair, meaning when she was younger she just had the darker black hair, I guess, or
Right.
just darker hair.
Hmm.
But now her hair is much lighter, at least based on the panels and the anime.
Precisely.
So that was kind of funny or interesting.
Yeah. I think it matches her character because she is kind of vain like that. Or well, not to say that everyone who dyes their hair is vain, but you catch my drift.
I mean, there's degrees of vanity.
Right. Precisely.
And then little Nobara playing Brawl. I mean, it looks like they were playing Super Smash Bros. Brawl on the Wii.
I would expect so, especially since I believe she also mentioned
Oh
specifically
yeah, the
Brawl
Smash Ball.
at a well, she mentioned the Smash Ball, but also in a previous part in the story, I believe she mentioned Brawl
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
as a gag at some point.
Oh, okay,
So or at least it reminded me of that.
nice.
It's fun to see some Nintendo games in this. But oh well, I guess we will just have to wait until after this recording, is over, so that we can read Volume 15. Because yeah, this is one of the most nervous things I've been like as a cliffhanger thing in Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah. Mm.
Yep.
Mm.
So well, moving on then, I suppose, to Kento Nanami.
No, not me.
So I guess the good news is that he survived Jogo's attack.
That's the good news. A
um,
little scarred, but he was still moving.
yeah, like oh my goodness, like it reminded me of Two-Face from Batman.
I mean, yeah. What a boss to walk away from being burned alive. Like,
Yeah,
holy cow.
indeed. And yeah, and he was just barely though, like just barely alive. It seemed like I mean,
Well, I mean, he took down all those transfigured people by himself.
that's fair. Okay, he did do that, but he was still like incredibly done. Like in his head, he was done, and
Yeah.
and he had no power at all to resist Mahito. Um, but
I mean, can you
yeah,
even be healed from that? Would Shoko be able to heal that?
good question. I have no clue.
I don't know. Well, not that we'll ever know.
No. Well, maybe if Maki or Naobito survived similarly,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I guess we could see if Shoko can heal them.
Man, if freaking Naobito makes it, I mean Maki has to make it, but if Naobito makes it and Nanami dies, I am going to write in broken Japanese a very intense letter to Akutami.
Wow.
No, I won't. I don't have the guts to do that.
Yeah. Well, that's still something that we are, I guess,
Waiting on.
waiting on with bated breaths.
Because not even Nanami knows if they made it. I mean,
Precisely.
I don't blame him. He's probably just
Yeah.
at this point he's kind of singular minded.
Yeah. But just moments before he was killed, he was for one, he was seeing Haibara in front of him, and kind of, which I guess was nice in a way. But he was kind of through the Haibara vision. He was contemplating telling Yuji something. Ultimately, he didn't because he feared it would become a curse for Yuji. And I do wonder what that could have been. This seems to just be another one of these things that makes Yuji's origins or his his distant past or whatever it is. Like it makes him so mysterious, and it makes me so
Mm.
curious about what this could be. Like maybe it's the same thing, or maybe it's closely tied to whatever his like Yuji's grandpa would have told him if Yuji had allowed him about his parents. There was something, or maybe it's something entirely different, like just another mysterious thing about Yuji. It's really hard to say, but yeah.
Interesting. So I don't think I took it in that way. Uh, I'm not even sure. I mean, I'm not sure if we know what he was trying to say, but I didn't feel like it was a. Well, maybe it was maybe it was a truth about Yuji. I didn't really think of it that way. I thought it was some sort of parting, dying words he wanted to, or he thought about leaving Yuji, like avenge me or something like that. But if he told Yuji that, then it would be a curse or something.
Hmm.
But he does tell him to, I leave it up to you. So maybe that was, maybe that's the thing he was apprehensive about saying, but he said it anyway.
I suppose it could have been.
And I think the Haibara pointing, because Haibara is pointing at Yuji. Because when I first
Yeah.
read that, I didn't understand like what is going on. But
Mm-mm.
Haibara is pointing at Yuji.
Yeah. Almost as if, or at least the way I interpreted that was like Haibara was, or well, from the way that Nanami was seeing things and interpreting things, it was as if Haibara was encouraging him to spill the beans on something, or let Yuji in on something that he had, like a secret that they'd been keeping from him or something like that. Maybe I am misinterpreting it though. Maybe it
Mm.
isn't as much to it as that, but could be interesting.
Did Haibara say anything to Nanami before he died that would have been a curse on Nanami?
Oh, oh wow! I don't
I mean,
know. I don't
there's
know.
no way we'd find out if it hadn't happened. Like, was it written in the previous chapter? Is what I'm asking.
I don't recall anything like that.
Yeah. If anything, it would have been that chapter with Haibara and Geto. Like that was the last time we heard anything from Haibara.
Yeah, right, precisely.
Anything meant to, although Nanami may have said something about what Haibara said before dying. Well, anyway, I didn't look into that unfortunately, but uh it would be very interesting if somehow Haibara and Nanami and maybe more knew something about Yuji that would have been a curse or something like that.
Yeah, right.
But why Haibara?
I'm not necessarily, or at least the way I'm seeing it, I'm not necessarily thinking that Haibara in life knew anything specifically about Yuji, because
Okay.
that would probably be strange, because Yuji was so incredibly young when Haibara died. But
Yeah.
although I guess it's not impossible, but I'd rather see it as like this is what Nanami is envisioning, and it's just kind of his conscience
Mm-hmm.
somehow, and Haibara is just kind of a visualization of that. Though
Mm-hmm.
yeah, who knows?
Interesting. Yeah. At the very least, it's maybe a little too cryptic. I
mm,
mean, I
mm.
like the imagery, I guess, but it's not very clear what it was exactly trying to say. Besides,
Yeah.
other than Nanami was envisioning Haibara pointing at Yuji.
Uh,
That's basically we could definitively say that is what he saw
Indeed, yes.
before dying. That's about it.
That is indeed about it. I hope that some clarity can come later, perhaps, like on this.
Well,
But
especially if we find out something true. Although
mm,
how would we know if Nanami knew about it? Maybe Gojo would say something if they ever get Gojo out of the box. But
Gojo or
I,
Yaga, maybe something through him.
oh, okay, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, there's a chance, I suppose.
There's a chance. There is a chance.
Yup. But do we have anything else on Nanami?
If only he could have made it to Malaysia. That would have been
Oh,
nice for him. Yeah, it's kind of sad that. Well, I think it was good writing to kind of get that imagery and wish that Nanami had.
yeah.
Uh, No reference to Panya-chan, so I'm a little peeved about that. But
I knew you would be.
it, it is what it. The Nanami Panya Chan ship is officially dead. Was never a thing anyway. I knew it. I knew it wouldn't be a thing, but I still love it. I actually have some fan art. I don't know if I ever showed you the kid.
Oh yeah, no,
I don't know if
you
you
mentioned
remember.
it, and you never showed it to me though. I want to see
I
it.
found it. I
Oh,
found it,
yeah,
and I have to show it to you because
yes.
it is everything. Um, and I'll be sure to post it to the Jujutsu Kaisen channel on our Discord channel when the podcast episode goes up.
Oh yes, don't forget. It'll be a couple weeks
Try
from
not
now.
to. Yeah. I
But yes,
yeah.
that would be lovely.
Yeah. So that'd be great.
Mm, mm.
And then the last thing I'll say is curse you, Mahito. Oh, I hate you. I know you're already a curse, but double curse.
Yeah, he's the worst. Especially if he's gonna end up killing Nobara, he's gonna be like the worst.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I probably should have saved that for when we talk about it.
Yeah. We'll leave him for now, but we'll be back a bit. Well, I suppose moving on to the next one, let's talk a bit about Sukuna.
He actually showed some sympathy for the cursed spirits. Well, that was interesting.
Somehow, yeah, in a way, yeah, right. That was an interesting.
Although he doesn't know what crying is.
Yeah, that made him really angry. Yeah, right. Yeah, he killed Jogo. Kind of suddenly, but also like I don't know. It was still a somewhat nice moment for Jogo, I suppose.
So the way I interpreted it was that silent moment that they had where he kind of was like, "Hey, you didn't do too bad. You're actually pretty strong. Pretty good." He's like, Why am I crying?" That I feel like that was kind of a in their head kind of a situation, but in reality, he was already burning up or dying or whatever.
Oh, I didn't see it that way, but
That's
I mean,
how I picked. That's how I pictured because they were in the middle of attacking each other, I believe. So
they probably were, yeah. Yeah, I mean that's fair. That's a fair way to see it. And especially since all of those pages or those panels don't have any like backgrounds, like
right.
it's only just the characters. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
I mean, doesn't he also see the other cursed spirits, like his friends with him?
Jogo does see his other friends. Yeah,
Yeah. So
precisely.
that's
So like at the very least in that part, it's definitely in Jogo's head. But and actually, yeah, it does kind of feel like when the conversation with Sukuna starts, it kind of feels like they're still in that headspace. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, either way. Not only did Sukuna kill Jogo, he killed Haruta Shigemo or ponytail, side ponytail guy as well. So he's just killing
He killed
guys.
a lot of people.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
He killed a lot of people.
A lot of people.
Well, yes. So right, precisely. His two different types of slashing attacks were explained a bit to us, as well as the domain expansion that he used across part of Shibuya.
Oh man.
And that was pretty devastating.
Devastating.
Yeah.
Oh my
gee,
gosh.
like I wonder how many people died there. Like just in general. But I also maybe even more so as maybe harsh as it sounds, maybe even more so I wonder how many characters that we know may have died there.
Right. I don't know. I really don't know.
Right.
I mean, we had that meteorite hit.
Yeah.
And I was still wondering about, Panda and stuff like that. But now it's just like, how can anybody survive that?
Yeah.
Although, if anybody could survive it, I could see Panda.
Yeah.
I'll go into that with predictions.
Fair enough. But I could see that as well. We also know that obviously it wasn't all of Shibuya. So
right.
Certain parts, like wherever Nanami was, apparently wasn't reached by the domain expansion. because we saw that location after the fact, or or I guess maybe he was underground and that it didn't go that deep. I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know.
Regardless, it
Yeah, I'm
didn't reach that
not
part
sure.
wherever Nanami was. If it was like on the same plane, or if it was because he was underground. Regardless,
So wait,
mm.
why specifically Nanami?
Because the location. Well, because we saw him after the domain expansion, and he had not been killed by the domain expansion, and that
Ah,
location was
gotcha,
also still
gotcha,
intact. You know.
gotcha. Yeah.
So there are parts of Shibuya that are still untouched by that.
Well, also anywhere near Megami, like after a certain point, was also safe too.
Precisely that as well. Also, wherever Nobara was clearly fine.
Right.
Um,
Really fine. Yeah.
but yeah. So obviously, there's hope for several characters, but there's
Well,
also
separate characters. Yeah.
but also like yeah, like I would be surprised if you know if we or rather I'm expecting to learn that some characters that we know just happen to be in that radius and that they were just destroyed in that like
Man, what a way to go.
yeah, like just kind of off screen and just suddenly, really suddenly. But at the same time, I kind of hope that there is something like that because not only would it make Sukuna feel all the more threatening, but it would also be realistic to be honest because it was such a large area and it would be a little bit bullshit if all of the characters that we know just happen to be outside of that, you know?
Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't mind a little BS if it meant that they're still alive in certain ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Regardless, I'll prepare myself for some sadness.
Yeah, going into volume 15, I will definitely be prepared for some sadness.
You're right.
Oh.
There's oh boy.
Yeah. But it was pointed out that one of the slashing attacks attacks inanimate objects and the other attacks anything with cursed energy, I believe. Something along those lines anyway. Well, for one, I don't think like assuming Maki survived Jogo's attack to begin with, I think she's outside of the radius since Nanami was.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think that the Maki, Naobito, and Nanami were not in harm of Sukuna's domain expansion.
Yeah.
However, if she had been, and if she had survived Jogo's attack, then maybe she would have also survived Sukuna's domain expansion because she doesn't have any cursed energy. And she's not an inanimate object either. So maybe Sukuna can't touch her with his slashing attacks. Just a thought I had.
Interesting.
But yeah, it may be totally irrelevant anyway, so yeah. But
I don't know. Yeah. I think the fact that she should have been in the same general area as Nanami should mean that she was safe.
Precisely. But yeah, and I guess if she survives and you know into future arcs and whatnot, which obviously we're hoping for, then it would be interesting if she is like one of the unique cases where like Sukuna's attacks or at least his slashing attacks can't harm her. Like that would be pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah, that would make I mean, darn it! If only what's his name was Fushiguro.
Oh yeah, Toji. Yeah.
Then we would know.
Yes.
Oh man, Sukuna versus Toji would have been so cool.
It could have been, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have expected Toji to win, but it would have been very interesting.
Absolutely.
I guess talking about Sukuna's dismantle and cleave and whatnot, we still don't exactly know what his curse technique is.
Right.
Because what's this whole open thing that he says, and then there's the fire arrow. So it's not quite clear what it is still. I don't think it's the copycat. I'm going to throw that one aside. I don't think that's it. I think yours is still likely, the one you mentioned in our last discussion.
Right, yeah, about it being like different ways of inflicting harm or pain, or kind of
Yeah, yeah.
somehow related to that. I guess, though, but I agree with you. It is unclear and it is a bit confusing so far as to like based on what we've seen.
I'm gonna throw out a new guess here.
Mhm.
What if he is actually pulling from an arsenal of weapons, like some of these
Mm.
sacred, or not maybe sacred, but just mystical weapons? Because when he has the fire thing, it seems like he's pulling an arrow, bow and arrow. Uh, so maybe that's something he's opening, like a cabinet of these weapons, and that's why he's able to do the cleave and the dismantle. Like they're just two separate weapons,
Oh,
maybe. Just a thought,
right. No, yeah, no, I could maybe see that. Yeah.
because I don't think it ends with that fire arrow. I think there's way
Mm.
more to it than just cleave, dismantle, and a fire thing.
Yes, I'm with you there. Mm. So yeah, hope to see him again soon. Kind of.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like after he ended his domain expansion, he gave control back to Yuji. And I assume that was because he had no power left to control the body at that point.
Yeah, I think time was running out.
Either time or just he had used up a lot of energy, basically because he fought someone who was, well, not super challenging for him, but still a decent match for him.
I think he said something about time running out, but I could be wrong.
Maybe he did. If it did, I missed it. But either way, yeah, I believe regardless that in that moment he couldn't control the body any longer.
Hmm.
But anything else on Sukuna?
Yes. Again, big plans ahead. we we
Mm.
we're in the dark about what those can be. To me, it's more evident than ever that Sukuna is the end game here. It was never the cursed spirits. It was Sukuna.
Oh yes.
Uh, and that was something that I kind of conflicted with in my mind, because you had these technically two, well, all these separate parties, but these two in particular that I thought could either be together or separate. And at this point, it definitely seems to be separate. Sukuna is playing his own game here,
Oh yes.
and I cannot wait to see how it all is going down,
Mm.
and then how eventually will come falling down to pieces as the heroes triumph. Anyway, it'll be great. He still needs Megami though, because instead of just killing the boy and being done with that spirit or that Shikigami,
Mm.
he fights it and revives Megami, keeps him from dying.
Precisely.
In fact,
Yep.
so he still needs him.
Yeah.
And then last thing that I'll say, before he calls up the domain expansion, he said Megami showed him the way. What way? And what did he show him? It can't have been domain expansion. He knew how to do that, right?
Mm.
So what was it that Megami showed him? Was it this Shikigami power?
Sorry. Where did he say that?
In chapter 118, he said, if it was me from that time, it may have been able to beat me. And he's thinking about the time when
Mm.
Fushiguro and Sukuna were fighting.
Yeah.
And he goes, Ke.
Yeah.
You show me the way, Megami Fushiguro.
Okay, interesting, because it's translated differently in the physical book.
What?
Yeah.
Well, please.
So on my what I read here, what I'm reading here in the physical book is, well, it's the same except for that one part. He doesn't say you showed me the way. He says you've piqued my interest, Megumi Fushiguro.
What? Why? That's vastly different meanings.
Yeah, right, huh?
But I think, okay, I think that clearly means that the main expansion, not that I thought that, but it was just kind of confusing. The main expansion, he already knew how to do that. Of course he did.
Mm.
But I'm willing to think it's piqued my interest is so bland, because he's already piqued his interest.
Yeah, we knew that.
We knew that, but the showed me the way part is interesting.
Hmm.
So since we're talking about it,
Yeah,
let me let me dive into it right now.
for sure, for sure.
I think that Sukuna has big plans for the Shikigami thing, being that what if he's going to try to get Megumi to summon Sukuna himself
Oh,
as a Shikigami?
oh, dude,
Is that possible? I
bro.
don't I
Uh,
don't exactly
I
know,
mean, I don't know
but
either, but I I love how crazy that idea is.
right? And so maybe his plan is, in order to be freed of the Yuji vessel,
Oh.
is to take over that new body, or just, I guess, just come back through that body. I don't know,
Hmm.
but that, I think that is his plan, and that's why he
Mm.
feels that he has showed him the way, because he probably didn't really know how to do it, or maybe it was kind of a prayer that he'd be able to find that
Mm.
opportunity. But anyway, that's what I'm my theory.
Fun. Thanks for sharing that, and interesting that we found a little translation difference here. I don't feel like we've usually noticed stuff like that in this series.
Yeah, not in this series. No,
Uh,
that's super strange.
yeah. um,
I'm very curious what the Japanese is now,
yeah, yeah, me too.
because there's
Well,
no way they're the same thing.
we'll try to remember to look that up later, maybe if we can.
Yeah, yeah,
uh, but yeah, yeah, very nice. I really like that theory. Then moving on a bit to some smaller characters, but I want to start with Uraume.
yeah.
Since, well, first of all, yeah, this monk kid who now has a name, for one, and secondly, is someone that Sukuna knows. Like,
What the freak?
somehow. Like, I can't remember how,
Ah.
if it was established exactly how long ago Sukuna lived, but
Oh,
supposedly
dude,
Uraume was around back then, I suppose, in some way anyway. And that got me thinking,
it was
like,
ages,
it
man.
was, yeah, a long, long time ago for sure. Um, but it made me wonder, could Uraume have a similar power as Tengen or something like that? Or is it just an entirely different thing? But I don't know. I don't know.
I
I
don't
mean,
know, man.
we've been given extremely little about this character.
Right.
Um, but yeah.
It's funny that we're finally getting something about Urume
Mm.
after all the cursed spirits are dying.
Right.
You know, I
Yeah.
I have thoughts that I'll say for predictions, but
Sounds good.
at the very least, they are preparing for something.
Yes. Do you want to talk about Mahito next?
Yes,
Let's go.
I hate this man. I don't. There have been characters I've hated in our series, and sometimes there's some sort of redeeming value and whatnot. There is no redeeming this man.
No.
I, I, this curse.
Right,
You
right.
know,
Mm-hmm.
I gosh, it is just pure evil.
Yup.
I just cannot stand him. I guess that's what makes it so fun, is that there's just this character that's so easy to loathe.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, man.
I mean, because yeah, he really is that character in this series. Because like compared to other villains, like Jogo and Geto and even Sukuna to some extent, like there is an appeal to them somehow in various ways. I at least that I feel.
Right. Well, yeah, they're more. There's actually a human side to them. Even the cursed spirits, besides Mahito, you know, they wanted to be recognized as humans, and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. I mean, yeah, sure, they were enemies of mankind, but there was some sort of humanity to them. Whereas Mahito, it's just, I've said immaturity before, but it is just pure malevolence, and no sympathy at all. I can't. Poof.
Yeah, it's kind of funny now, or the way you said it now made me kind of see a little bit of irony in how, for example, Jogo. who is like an earth spirit or whatever, or he was born out of people's fear of the earth. He is more human than the curse who was born out of people's fear of humans, aka Mahito.
Right, right.
But either way, yeah, I agree. He is very hateable.
Yeah.
Especially right now. Oh boy.
Absolutely. In his fight with Yuji, he mentions that, oh, hey, we're both the same. It's like, no, you're not doing that. Like, not the villain saying, hey, we're actually the same. Like, no, stop that.
Yeah, right.
Stop that.
Stop that right now.
But of course, I can't help but think, okay, what is that? What is he supposed to mean there? Other than egging him on, which that could just be it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if he's trying to imply that Yuji's a murderer like him. Maybe he's trying to get his goat that way.
Right. Which I could see. And though in that case, it's also for a kind of unfair reason and kind of mostly, as you said, to kind of egg him on, kind of. Because the killing that Yuji has been doing has been to, well, evil curse slash warped soul creatures, like,
and also being controlled by Sukuna.
Right. There's that aspect as well. But yeah, I feel like in none of these instances is Yuji actually to blame, or he hasn't done anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So it is entirely unfair of Mahito to say what he says, you know, or not just unfair. It's dumb.
But interestingly, he says that Yuji won't be able to feed him unless he accepts that, which is kind of a death flag in a way, like almost predicting his own death. That Yuji's will be able to accept that, or maybe defy his expectations.
Interesting. I mean, technically, in a way, he already did kind of call himself murderer. I mean, he did.
True. True.
So on some level, I guess he's accepting it. if this is how it's supposed to be read.
If that's how it's supposed to be, right. If that's how it's supposed to be interpreted. But I don't know. I mean, maybe they both like the color blue. That's how they're the same.
Yeah. Yes.
I will admit that Mahito's troll faces are pretty funny.
They are.
There's a couple good ones, but man, I just want to punch that face so much.
Yeah. And like, aside from him killing Nanami and now...
Oh, he killed Nanami, the jerk!
Yeah. Well, aside from that, and aside from the possibility of him killing Nobara as well, obviously both being incredibly sad and terrifying things.
Mm-hmm.
Something that really ticked me off was seeing him kind of making like a Junpei puppet with his hand and kind of mocking him like that was like, God dang.
Dude has no chill.
Nope.
No chill whatsoever.
None.
And going back to Nobara, this is what I say earlier, is that he purposely is targeting her in order to just make Yuji's life even more miserable. Why? I mean, I know why, because he's terrible, but stop it.
Yeah, right.
I just, what?
Mm-hmm.
To what end is he doing this other than just being the ultimate troll? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he's just like, this sounds like it'll be fun. But I mean, if anything, I feel like he's just gonna empower Yuji to kick his butt. Like,
I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, I hope so.
I mean, I hope so, right?
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Megumi Fushiguro. Although he was kind of, well, he sort of knocked himself out, or he had himself knocked out pretty early on in the volume, but he did summon this uncontrollable Shikigami that gave Sukuna a little bit of a run for his money anyway.
A little bit.
And, right, like, once he used the domain expansion, it was child's play, but at least, you know, he put up a decent fight with Sukuna at the very least. And, like, nobody else could have taken him down single-handedly. Like, Or, well, maybe Jogo, or
Could
probably Jogo.
Gojo have? I don't
Oh,
know.
sorry, Gojo. Sorry,
I mean,
man, I keep
Gojo.
messing up Jogo and Gojo. Shit. At least Jogo is dead now, so maybe I can start just focusing on the Gojo name.
Yeah.
Either way. It was a really interesting move to see, and like a risky power to have, obviously.
Yeah,
Damn.
absolutely. I mean, speaking of Gojo, he explains the feud between the Zenin and the Gojo family, which I thought was some interesting lore, and how two sorcerers from the past, just like Gojo and Megumi's powers,
Yeah.
killed each other in a very similar battle. It's unfortunate. I mean, it seems like that the Gojo of the past, which is so OP, that the only thing the the Zenin could do was summon this incredibly OP monster. Now, it's unclear if this Shikigami is the same one that was from that battle with Gojo. Like, he doesn't really say, oh, this is the same one. He just says that no other sorcerer has been able to do it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Has been able to exercise it, or control it.
That's fair.
Although there's a good possibility that it could be. That being said, does that mean that even Gojo would have trouble fighting that Shikigami? I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of frightening when you think of how Sukuna was able to have it beat it, but could Gojo even do that?
Yeah, right. I wonder. And I mean, Gojo seemed very sure that he could beat Sukuna in a fight. But
yeah.
But maybe not.
Yeah. I still, sorry I keep talking about Gojo, but I'm still of the mindset that Sukuna and Gojo are two sides of the spectrum of just ultimate evil versus ultimate good.
Yeah.
Like overpowered on their sides of that.
Yes.
Of that scale. So I want to think that Gojo could be Sukuna's equal.
Right.
Anyway, we're just talking about Megumi. I commend him for being able to die right there, but he'll live to see another day.
Indeed. Next up, a bit again on Haruta Shigemo, as I mentioned him briefly before, the guy we've been calling Side Ponytail. His name was revealed to us just a moment before he died.
Oh man.
As was his curse technique, which I thought it was a pretty cool technique or fun gimmick.
Well, yeah, very interesting. Yeah. So his curse technique was storing miracles.
Yeah.
And he didn't even know about it. But you can see if you go back to the previous chapters when he's fighting Nanami, the marks on his cheeks are fully black, like they're filled up.
Yeah.
And then you see as he's taking punches from Nanami, you see them start to wither out or go white.
Precisely.
So that was something I didn't notice until reading this volume, and you see how all of his marks are completely gone.
Right. Yeah, it's a great attention to detail that obviously, I didn't, wasn't aware of until knowing this, but it's so cool that if one knows it, it makes sense when you kind of read back those moments. Really, really neat.
And I'm glad it was technically Nanami that did him in, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Nanami
That is a little bit of solace, I suppose.
Yeah.
I also want to give a little bit of a shout out to Jogo. We've been mentioning him a bit. Obviously, he bit the dust here, but he was a great villain in my opinion. I really, really started to like him,
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
I really did. It does seem like they were being used by, at the very least, Geto.
And maybe to an extent, Uraume as well. Because Uraume seemed like a mole in some sense in their organization.
I have thoughts.
Well, then let's move into predictions and share me your thoughts about Uraume, please.
Well, it also has to do with Fate Geto.
Okay, then let's go.
What if Fate Geto is part of Sukuna's group? Because Fake Geto has mentioned
Mm-mm.
that, oh, these sorcerers are stronger than the ones ages before.
Right.
Like he's mentioned that before. So he's been around a while. Is it so hard to believe that he could have come from Sukuna's time as well?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Uraume, we know for a fact, was around with Sukuna. We just don't know in what way. I'm inclined to think that how Fake Geto does it and how Uraume does it is different.
Yeah.
Uh, I think they're just gonna have different kind of technique to have them, or basically to have eternal life.
Mm-hmm.
But it does make me wonder who else could be involved in all this. We technically still don't know who was the other, well, mole in the Jujutsu Kaisen school, right? Like in the higher ups.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's another Sukuna member.
Ooh.
And then I thought about a theory that I think you had about what if it was actually Tengen himself
Right.
or themselves who just let them in.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Tengen is supposed to be another eternal being, I don't know, it's not all too far fetched, although that would be quite upsetting if it was Tengen who was behind it all. And then my thought went to, okay, what if the Sukuna troop, or it's not a troop, group
Yeah.
was the one who established Jujutsu High or Jujutsu Kaisen, like the whole group
Oh my.
from a way back when, in order to eventually lead to his revival. And I mean,
Whoa.
that's kind of like big brain
That it would be.
conspiracy
Oh,
theory right
dude.
there.
I like
So,
that though. That's fun. That would be fun.
because they obviously have a plan,
Yes.
this whole group, and they have preparations to make.
Clearly.
So it would be very interesting if everything had been leading up to this moment.
Yeah. I like it.
Yep, that's my big brain conspiracy theory, along with what I said earlier about Sukuna becoming a Shikigami,
Mm-mm.
being summoned by Megami or whatever.
Right. Which I also think that sounds very interesting for sure. Sweet. Sweet. And yeah, like I hadn't thought about any of those things specifically, but I had been thinking that with so many villains dying now, like
Mm-hmm.
all of the like natural phenomenon, fears or whatever, curses, they've all died now. Maito remains kind of as the only notable curse out of the villains that have been in the story so far.
Mm-hmm.
And I am sort of expecting that he may die in the next volume.
I'm with you there.
And assuming he does, then kind of that whole group is kind of over.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have, as you said, the Ghetto Imposter and Uraume seem to be like two notable characters that will stick around. And I'm really expecting that we'll kind of focus on them moving forward into the future arcs.
Absolutely.
Whether they're on the same side or not, like, because well, we know Uraume is with Sukuna for sure. The Ghetto Imposter,
Yeah.
I like your theory, and that definitely could be the case. But whether or not it is, I still think those two will get some villain focus kind of going forward, regardless of whether they're together or not.
Mm-hmm.
Though I do hope that they are. I do hope that your theory is right because I do like that connection, especially with the whole kind of long life thing that they have in common,
Right.
or seemingly anyway.
So at the very least, I it's safe to say that Fake Geto was using the cursed spirits for his own gain. I don't think there was any sort of real, in my opinion, real sympathy for their cause
Yeah.
or what they were after. He didn't care. It was all to trap Gojo and get something else accomplished. I don't think it had anything to do with actually helping them.
Precisely, and I get the same feeling from Uraume. Like,
Yeah.
Uraume also feels like someone who was kind of with the curses, but not actually completely on their side.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'm hoping to learn a lot more about those two specific villains in the future arcs. That would be awesome.
Yep.
But are Maki and Naobito dead? Still a question that we need an answer to.
Yeah.
There's a chance. There's a chance that they are. As we said, like if they survived similarly to how Nanami survived Jogo's attack, then maybe Shoko can cure them. Though
maybe
that relies on them having survived like Nanami did, and Nanami is really strong, so maybe the others weren't able to survive the attack the way he did. I don't know.
Are you saying Maki's not strong?
Is she as powerful as Nanami? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, physically, she's got to be stronger, right?
Actually, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I usually when I think of her in my head, I'm like, I just think of her as having super high strength, kind of. But I do believe it's just physical capabilities in general. So actually, she should have survived if Nanami did.
Oh, thank you for that very optimistic approach. Yes.
Right?
Let's go.
Her constitution should be superhuman.
Yeah.
AKA stronger probably than Nanami's, because we don't know anything about Nanami having like any type of defensive perks.
Yeah.
But Maki should, right? Right?
I think so. I'd be very disappointed if Maki's journey is over. I wasted opportunity. So I don't see that happening. I do see her surviving.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, and because I hadn't thought of it in that way exactly until just now, but yeah, honestly, at this point, I'm relatively confident that she survived. Naobito, I'm more like 50-50 on, but Maki,
Yeah.
I'm quite sure that she will be fine. She will be found, and she will be cured or healed.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great.
So what about Panda?
Oh,
Panda. See that this is where I think that of all the characters that were around the Jogo Sukuna fight, Panda could be the most likely to still survive, only because of his siblings that are inside of him.
Ooh.
So you have him, his brother, and his sister.
Right.
That we have not seen yet.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, I don't think Panda can leave the story because we haven't seen his sister.
Right. You're right.
You can't just tease that and then never do anything about it.
No.
So the second thing is that there's a possibility he survives because I guess that, Panda and his brother maybe end up taking the heat from Sukuna's attack, but the sister survives and Panda survives that way.
Right. Yes. I like that. I wonder though about the other characters that were in there, like Kusakabe and
yeah,
and the others.
The other two I don't really care. I mean,
no.
I feel like they weren't meant to make a huge impact. I could eat crow on that, but Kusakabe, I don't. Yeah, I mean, unless Kusakabe has some sort of incredible. Well, he doesn't have a curse technique, so I don't know. How do you make it out of it unless Panda is able to save him somehow?
Yeah, or maybe he can run really fast. Maybe he outran the meteor.
That'd be great.
I don't know.
I mean, he's kind of he's kind of a coward. He knows when to run away.
Precisely.
So maybe he was able to do so.
Perhaps. Regardless, I like your what you said about Panda. And I refuse to believe that Nobara will die. I refuse because I don't want it to happen.
No.
So I'm going to predict that she survives. And I would love to see Mahito bite the dust. Like, at this point, and I think we both may feel this way, like, it would just feel so satisfying at this point, especially.
Yes.
For him to, exit the story through permanent death. So I'm going to predict that Yuji Nobara will be able to defeat him.
Yuji needs a win. He needs a W here.
Oh.
He's had it really rough this arc.
You're right.
Yes, he had the moment with the grasshopper. I was like, yeah, good job, Yuji.
Right, we were off to a decent start there, I guess, but
and then it kind of went downhill from there.
Yes.
Just not having a good time. Mm-hmm. So I think this is great for his self-esteem, but I guess more so great to get this demon off his back, so to speak, and it just would be so satisfying to have Yuji punch in his face once and for all.
It would.
I would love that. And the fact that we already have so many other cursed spirits dead,
Uh-huh.
and Mahito being the final one to bite the dust, I think would be a poetic ending to that, and kind of shift the villainry or
Hmm.
the antagonist from these cursed spirits to my theory of the Sukuna group, or at the very least,
Yeah.
Fake Geto and Urume.
Precisely, yeah. I'm also kind of seeing this, at least, based on this prediction and everything, seeing this arc as kind of the end of that villain group as they were, which I think is nice. They had a great run.
Yeah,
Um, and I think it will be fresh to have a new group and focus on new things as far as the villains go. So yeah, I'm all for that.
I think earlier I was saying how that, oh yeah, maybe there'd be one or two cursed spirits death. Yeah, like I said, Jogo would die.
Hmm.
But then I said then they'll just run away, or they'll take the Gojo trapped in a box and leave or something. But
Hmm.
that's not the case. Like I don't see them surviving this at all.
Right, right. So yeah, hopefully we're on to something here.
Hopefully, or we could
uh,
be clearly off, but
we shall see. We
that's
shall
fine.
see.
Uh,
Mm.
last thing I'll say is just a few characters that we are unsure of.
Yes.
May, don't know where she is. I mean,
Hmm.
we know she's fighting Fake Geto, but what's going on there?
Exactly.
And so I guess that's another one, Fake Geto. And then Choso, I mentioned him in the previous discussion, but
Mm.
I think I said that he probably wouldn't appear until the volume after this one. So I am gonna hold on to the prediction and say Choso appears probably after the Nobara backstory and killing Mahito.
All right.
Oh crap!
Huh?
Choso is a cursed spirit too.
He
Oh, I didn't think about that.
fair. I suppose we could have like, cause it seems like his objective, other than having a gripe with Yuji, is that he wants to bring back the rest of the remaining death painting wounds.
Ah,
So I could see that as being like maybe a side villain group, quote unquote, or at least an additional
maybe.
villain group, that we may have in addition to Sukuna and his followers.
Yeah, because honestly, I felt like with Sukuna's followers, I thought they would just be sorcerers that
Mm.
were on his side. That was my thought. And so having this cursed womb spirit around.
Because to be fair, I never thought at least out of the three death painting wombs that we have seen so far, I never thought they really fit in quite with the villain group that was, or that is, or
You're
sort of it
right.
was as is,
You're
or
right.
um. So I sort of feel like Choso kind of bringing back the rest of them and creating a new group kind of would make sense, and kind of as a standalone group, at least for a time.
But if that theory about Jujutsu High and that the Sorcerer Society being established for Sukuna's own good
Yeah.
were to be true, that would mean that maybe they gathered the death painting wombs for this purpose of using them
Ah.
as part of their military might, lack of a better
Ooh.
word. Uh,
Right.
that could be something. But
For sure.
regardless, yeah, I agree with you that they don't really seem to be part of the whatever the curse, the real humans, the new human curse spirit group.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I don't have anything else to mention. I guess probably more so than Choso right now, even though I do agree I'm also a bit curious about Choso's whereabouts and whatever's going on with him. I guess he had a bit of a strange exit last time, or last time we
Right?
saw him. So I guess there is a bit of a curiosity there, but I am more interested in seeing what's happening with with Mei Mei and the Ghetto Imposter, since it's been a while since we saw them, and I feel like
Right.
we need to get back on that.
Get an update.
Mm-hmm. So that's, yeah, also something I'm definitely looking forward to. But that's all for my predictions and what I want from the next volume, I guess.
Yeah, I'm done, man. I am predicted out.
Lovely.
Had a lot of good ones this time around.
Yes, yeah. You brought some really interesting things to the table, I think.
I think there's a lot of fuel for the fire.
Yeah. No, this was a lovely volume, and yeah, as I said before, like there have been some good cliffhangers, and I don't know if this is necessarily the best one, but it's way up there. Maybe the best one so far in the series, um, or at
It's
least
very
like
good.
at the very least one that has me the most kind of nervous and eager and anxious about the next volume, sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah, I'm clearly just kind of nervous about this. Um, well, any closing words?
I wish Nanami could have had a better ending, but that's just. I think it was a good ending for him. I wish it was a happy ending,
Uh,
for a character I love.
I
But
get you.
it is what it is. I appreciate the strong choice.
Yes. After this episode, let us have a moment of silence for Kento Nanami. And I expect all of you listeners to do the same thing. Well, with that all said, if you enjoy our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Umami Manga, and it would be lovely if you'd like to support us by rating our show on the podcast platforms and subscribing to our channel Umami Manga on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about Volume 15. Bye bye!
See you later. I sent the image.
Oh! Oh, that's cute. Oh, Kento and Baker Girl.
Never meant to be.
Oh man, now I'm sad.